Okay, what's the number one nutrient? If there was one nutrient that adds years to your life, it's going to be the one I'm about to unpack on this video. So sit tight, grab a notebook. I promise you, this is a dense one because this is my favorite nutrient, and there's so many ways you can get it, and you can get it for free. So let's dive in and let me explain why. The best nutrient, if you want to add years to your life, it is the most helpful vitamin on the planet, and that is vitamin D. So today I want to talk about vitamin D and why it's the most important nutrient in the body, and why most of us, check this out, most of us are not getting enough. And we'll talk about ranges and what to look at. So, and what's interesting about vitamin D is that hopefully you're thinking about it in terms of immunity, but it is massively, massively important when it comes to hormones. And let me explain why here in a moment. So first, what I want you to know is that vitamin D is involved in over 1,000 different processes across your body and your brain. What a process. Let's break that down. Personally, I love studying the human body. I never bore of it because I know in my lifetime, I will never learn everything there is to learn about the human body. But there is so much wizardry going on in every cell, in every organ, every moment of the day. Like, if you could fully understand how miraculous your body is, you would never, ever feed it something toxic again. You would be like, this thing, it's doing all that? Oh my God, I'm going to eat like I really love my body. Like, you would fall in love with your body if you understood everything it did. Well, vitamin D is necessary for over 1,000 different processes, meaning that if you're low in vitamin D, 1,000 different processes in your body that are keeping your brain strong and your hormones good and your energy up, they fall apart. It's like an ingredient. I think of vitamins and minerals like ingredients. In Eat Like a Girl, I have a whole middle section on the 24 key nutrients you need to make hormones. And if you're missing any of those, all of a sudden you can't make the dish. Kind of like if you're baking bread and you don't have baking soda, the bread's not going to rise. So you got to have vitamin D for these processes to work. The other really interesting thing, and I've mentioned this before on other videos, is that vitamin D is actually considered a hormone. And that makes it, hopefully elevates it, like it puts it to a higher standard. But here's why it's important, is because you need vitamin D to make estrogen. And one of the biggest predictors of low estrogen is low vitamin D. So think about that for if you're in perimenopause or menopause, if you're struggling, or if you're having fertility issues, if you're struggling to ovulate, for my women that are having infertility issues somewhere between like in their late 20s, early 30s, or even in their early 40s, like if you don't have enough vitamin D, you're not going to make enough estrogen. And if you don't make enough estrogen, you can't release an egg from your ovaries. But my perimenopause and menopausal friends, this is a major problem when estrogen starts to go down as we go through our menopausal years. And all of a sudden we get hot flashes, and all of a sudden we are getting migraines, and we're gaining weight, and we can't think straight. Like, before you just go supplementing with HRT or BHRT, which are great, I'm not against them, but let's not forget the basics and understand that you need vitamin D to make estrogen. Now, my men out there, if you're still, hopefully you're still listening, you don't just need vitamin D to make estrogen, but men actually need vitamin D to synthesize testosterone. What that means is that the outer part of the testes will secrete testosterone. But in order for testosterone to be usable to the cells, you need vitamin D to break it down, synthesize it, reformat it so your cells can use it properly for what it's meant to do. So if we look at it through the lens of hormones have this tag team effect, meaning one hormone tags another hormone. So vitamin D is huge because you need vitamin D to make these other hormones. Other interesting things about vitamin D. Vitamin D keeps your skin healthy and smooth. So a really cool study that I'll put in here is a 2021 study found that vitamin D protects the skin from aging and supports collagen production. Okay, so those of you that are Botoxing and doing fillers, or maybe I've recommended that you put collagen in your coffee in the morning to help, as estrogen goes down, specifically estradiol goes down, you lose collagen for my perimenopause and menopausal friends. And so when you bring vitamin D in, you not only bring the collagen production back, but actually you protect the skin from aging. I've even seen some incredible research that shows that if you bring your vitamin D levels up, you're actually less prone to sunburn, which is crazy because it's protective. When you think vitamin D, think when I get my D levels up, I make hormones or I break hormones down. And when I do take vitamin D, it becomes this protective vitamin throughout my whole body, especially for my skin. The other place that vitamin D is so miraculous is that it can regulate moods. So a 2020 meta-analysis is where they bring a whole bunch of studies together, found, and this was in the Journal of Depression and Anxiety, found that low vitamin D was linked to increased depression and anxiety. So I don't know if this study was men or women, but a lot of women go into depressed and anxious states because, especially during menopause and perimenopause, because of the low estrogen and progesterone. And it could be vitamin D is not around enough for those hormones to be age appropriately made. So get your vitamin D measured. We'll talk about the measurements here in a moment, and make sure you're getting daily doses of it. We also know that taking a vitamin D supplement relieved depression in more than 20 clinical trials. So those of you that are struggling with depression, try that. Try making sure that you just know what your D levels are and increase it. Now, hopefully you all know that it's great for bone and tooth health. It's great for immune function. During the pandemic, I did so many videos on vitamin D. It was like, in my brain, I was thinking that's the most important thing we should do is bring our vitamin D levels up. But we also are now seeing that, and this was a 2011 study, found that there is a very strong link between vitamin D levels and lifespan. And that basically pretty much a large portion of Americans are clinically deficient in vitamin D. And the statistic that I found is 42% of American adults are clinically deficient in vitamin D, meaning they are seriously low. So what's the range you're looking for? Anything under 20 is seriously low. 20 to 50, okay, I would call that moderately low, like good, not great. You probably get in my health book, you would get a B. It would be a B or a C. If you're under 20, that's a D or an F. And if you're over 50, that is closer to an A. Women that are trying to balance their hormones, I like to see their vitamin D levels get up to closer to around 70, because you need all that vitamin D to be able to make estrogen. So how do you get it? What's the best way to get it? Well, I personally like to get it in sunshine. I live in California. That's fairly easy. But when sunlight hits your skin, it converts into vitamin D into your body. So 10 to 15 minutes a day in the sun, preferably in the morning. The darker your skin, the longer you have to be in the sun. Exposing as much skin as possible. So a lot of people that I know, if they live in a very wintry place and they don't get out during the winter, then they take supplements in the winter and use sun in the summer. I think that's a phenomenal way to look at it. And if you've been following me long enough, hopefully you know I'm obsessed with how our ancestors lived, because we can learn so much. I mean, they fasted, they metabolically switched. That's how I got into really understanding the power of fasting. But the other thing that they did is that they were outside a lot. So their whole life was outside. Most of their lives were spent outside. And right now, 92% of us, the average person, spends it indoors. So let's use today as an example. It's 3:00 on a Monday as I'm doing this video. I've been on calls all morning. It's a warm day. It's a November day here in California. And I went out for a walk. I went for a half an hour walk, trying to expose as much skin as possible, specifically to get my vitamin D. So it's like part of my ritual every day and I don't put sunscreen on. So it's part of it's just part of my health habits is to get out in the sun as much as I can throughout the day. Now, there are, now that we kind of see the big picture of vitamin D, outside of sun exposure, there are a couple other ways that you can get vitamin D. Well, the second way, so sun exposure is your first. The second one is you can eat vitamin D in organ meats and fatty fish. So my plant-based friends, this one may be a little bit hard to follow, and you might just go straight to supplementation. But I want to talk about these two foods because what's really fascinating to me is that it adds to the reason why we are so deficient in vitamin D. We're not getting outside, and we're not eating the small fatty fishes, and we're not eating organ meats. And those are the nutrients or the foods that have the most amount of vitamin D. So there was a 2013 study in Advances in Nutrition, and they found that the 3 best sources of vitamin D rich foods are your fatty fish. These are your salmon, your mackerel, your herring, and your anchovies. In sardines is another one that I would put in there. In Eat Like a Girl, I specifically asked Chef Jeff if he would create a sardine recipe that was tasty. I had the recipe on Saturday night. I was at a friend's house and we made the sardine tostadas. We put the pickled vegetables on top of it. It was awesome. I highly recommend it. So if you don't have a copy of Eat Like a Girl, go get a copy and you can get that recipe out of there because I could have that almost every day. Okay, the second type of food is cod liver. So you could do cod liver oil. You can do it in capsules. You can do it in liquid. Your grandma did it. So just careful not to do too much. It's going to get your bowels moving, but you could do it in cod liver oil. And then the third grouping is our organ meats, beef liver, kidneys, tripe. Those kind of foods are those kind of organ meats have a large amount of vitamin D in them. So I personally like to get a mixture of all of these things. And if you're not feeling comfortable with cooking organ meats, there are a lot of supplements that have our organ meat in them. Heart and Soil is one that we have used for years and highly recommend. Paleo Valley has some that are really great. And I'm sure my team will put some links there that are some of our tried and true. Okay, the third way you get vitamin D, if you can't get out in the sun, if you don't want to eat fatty fish or organ meats, is you take a vitamin D supplementation. Now, let me give you some ideas on how you can make vitamin D supplementation effective, because running down to your Costco or running into your supermarket and buying the cheapest vitamin D doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get your vitamin D levels up. Because when you eat take a vitamin D supplement, it has to be absorbed in your gut. And too many people have a gut that is a hot mess. So it doesn't have the right composure of good and bad bacteria. So you want to make sure that you are getting a high quality vitamin D. There are 3 things I look for when I get a high quality vitamin D. First, I like a liquid vitamin D. We used to do vitamin D tests pre and post all the time in my office. And my favorite vitamin D was put out by Systemic Formulas. It was a liquid. It tasted good. And we got every single time we saw people's vitamin D levels go up. So a liquid can be an easier absorbable way than a supplement. Leads me to my second thing. You always want to put vitamin D with vitamin K. It makes it a lot more absorbable. And then if you really want to knock it out of the park, you can put vitamin D with vitamin K and you take a probiotic, or when you're eating it, or taking it, you can eat some fermented yogurt or some kind of probiotic rich food, or you can just take a probiotic with it and it'll increase the absorption of vitamin D, which is honestly why Chef Jeff's sardine tostada was just perfect, is because he had put pickled vegetables with it. So you got the fermentation along with the vitamin D, so it increased the absorbability. So, but with a supplement, take that supplement with some fermented food or with a probiotic, and you're now going to make sure that vitamin D gets absorbed into your system a lot more efficiently. So now there is some belief that animal-based vitamin D supplementation, like a freeze-dried beef liver or cod liver oil, is the best way. I don't have any personal experience with that. I didn't see the pre and posts in my clinic like I did with the formula I just mentioned to you. But if you are omnivore, it's worth a try to get it from a freeze-dried source like a beef liver or cod liver oil. And to take it regularly, and the test is easy. Most people can test themselves now. I think even on my website, there might be a test. So test pre and post to make sure it's working for you. The last thing you want to do is take the same supplement over and over and over again and thinking you're getting a result and not get a result. Now, I'm going to move into the Q&A section of my videos. This is something new I'm doing. So thank you to all of you that have questions. If you have a question, by the way, that you want answered in one of my videos, when you put it in the comments, my team will see this. Just put in there, question to be answered on video, and my team will pull it out and we will do our best to answer that question. Otherwise, come join me in my academy. That's where a lot of these questions came from. Okay, here's the first question. In terms of longevity, are there any silent nutrient deficiencies in a modern diet that are easy to fill? I like this question. Now, vitamin D is the biggest one. That's what this whole video is about. But let's talk about a few other that I really like. So when we're thinking about longevity, one of the things I want you to realize is that your hormonal health isn't just about moods. And this is for both men and women. Your hormonal health isn't just about behaviors. Your hormonal health is also neuroprotective, like estrogen is neuroprotective. So we want to keep our hormonal levels as high as possible for as long as possible, and we want them to be age appropriate. So when I look at through the lens of hormones, we just mentioned vitamin D, but there's two other nutrients that are massively important. Actually, three. I'll throw a third one. One is magnesium. I think outside of vitamin D, magnesium for both men and women may be the next hero nutrient. You can get it in a high dense chocolate with very low sugar, or you can supplement with it. My favorite is BioOptimizers. We'll put a link here for that. But magnesium I have every night before I go to bed. It's part of my sleep routine. And I do it so I can make hormones. The other one that is really important is zinc. And zinc is a precursor specifically to testosterone. And I feel like it's one of those minerals that doesn't get enough airtime. So I really want to bring it to your attention. Seafood, lots of zinc in seafood, but you can also supplement really easy with zinc. And zinc will help you make estrogen. It'll help you make testosterone. Magnesium helps you make progesterone, whereas zinc will really help with estrogen and testosterone. So those two supplements are incredible repertoire along with vitamin D. The last one I would add into this would be omega-3 fatty acids. If you're not eating grass-fed meat, if you're not getting olive oil on a regular basis, if you're not doing wild salmon on a regular basis, then you need to supplement with omega-3 fish oils, but make sure it's a clean fish oil. So those are the easiest. Those are kind of my tried and true. And I'm really, for me, those are the ones I take on a regular basis. What specific signs or symptoms should I watch for that might signal that I have a nutrient deficiency? Ooh, I love this one. Okay, let's go through some common tried and true ways you know. The first, I really want to point out that if you are consistently low in energy, that your nutrient load may be low, and specifically B vitamins. You are meant to wake up with energy, pop out of bed, start your day without 4 cups of coffee, have your energy continue to go all day long. A couple hours before the sun goes down, your body's meant to start to wind down, and then you go to sleep. If that process is not happening, if you're needing tons of coffee to wake up and tons of wine to wind down, there possibly is a nutrient deficiency, and it would most likely be in the form of B vitamins. I also a huge fan of people watching their hair and their nails. So if your hair starts to get really thin, this happens a lot to menopausal women, that can be a mineral deficiency. If your nails start getting ridges in them, that can be a mineral deficiency. The other big piece of mineral deficiencies is how quickly is your hair growing and how quickly are your nails growing. So my favorite minerals, again, we'll put the links in here right now for hair and nail growth and hair thickness is Beam minerals. And they are fulvic and humic acid minerals that come from the earth. And they supply the right balance of a mineral profile for hair and nails. So if you're finding the ridges, your nails aren't growing very fast, your hair's not growing fast, your hair's falling out, let's lean in to more minerals, and that will help. And then the last deficiency that I think is really easy to spot in your body is magnesium deficiency, and maybe even potassium. And that is around your ability to allow your body to relax. So for me personally, as a 55-year-old woman, I notice that oftentimes if I get into bed and my legs can't relax, I often notice that I ask myself, oh, did I take my magnesium tonight? I actually have a magnesium cream, an organic one I got off of Amazon, so you can get it anywhere. I don't have a partial one, and I rub it on my legs at night if I get like restless legs. So restless legs, cramping in the legs, trouble getting your body to relax, that can be a magnesium deficiency. Extreme restless legs can be a potassium deficiency. So Element T has both magnesium and potassium in it. My team will leave links for that as well. So yeah, I look at my body symptoms all the time to tell me how my nutrient load is going. So those are some of my favorite.
Okay, you know how when you're trying to get in and out of fat burner, sugar burner, and sometimes you struggle? It might be that you have a metabolic blocker that's at play here. Want to know what those blockers are? Click on the link above and I'll take you straight to a giveaway and you can have my list of metabolic blockers.
Okay, last question is, how reliable are blood tests or other diagnostics in determining nutrient levels? Are there any tests you recommend? Okay, this is a loaded one because I did a lot of functional medicine in my clinic for years and years and years. We ran so many tests. And I have to say, I've kind of come to a place where I think a good old-fashioned blood test every year is really important. You want to look at your whole, as many different things as you possibly can. So you can look at liver enzymes and cholesterol and your metabolic system and your immune system. You want to make sure you don't have any of the elevated monocytes and lymphocytes and all of that. And you want to look at vitamin D levels. Like your doctor should be doing this every year. So it's just, they're looking for a pathology. When you get that blood test that your doctor is doing on you every single year, look at something called the reference range. And the reference range is at the high end. All right, like when you look at your number, like let's use vitamin D as an example. If your vitamin D is 20 and the reference range is 10 to 50, you're on the lower end of that reference range, but your doctor might, or the test may not call you out of range. You want to be in the middle on most of that blood work. You want to be right smack in the middle. You don't want to be on the high end and you don't want to be on the low end. So whenever, you don't have to be a rocket scientist or a doctor to read this blood work. When you get your blood work, just go down and look, are you in the middle all the way down? It's really important. Like, are any of your markers off? And I know this specific question was around nutrients, but I just want to give you all a lens in which to look at that. Okay. The tests that I think for nutrients that I have found to be the best is called metabolics. They'll tell you all kinds of nutrient levels that you have. You can do it blood, you can do it urine. It's put out by several different, I think that one's put out by Genova. Just type in metabolics. So, okay. As always, I hope that helps. Let me know. Hopefully you're seeing this new format that I'm teaching on YouTube through. I'm trying to get into the nuance with you. I want to give you more detail. And if you have questions you want me to answer, or if there's videos you want me to do on different topics that you're confused on, put it in the comments. When I put a video together, I actually have a team of researchers that help me scour the research and bring the most compelling current information to you. So I'll have my team go research it. We'll bring it here and we'll have a collaborative conversation. I look at my YouTube channel here as a community. We're all in this together. Your health depends on my health, and my health depends on you. You can't do health in a silo. So here on my channel, we're doing it together. So as always, don't give up on yourself. And I hope that helps.
I don't want you to waste money on supplements. Your body's a miracle. Buy the right ones. Sometimes you don't buy them at all. Check out this video so you don't waste money on your supplement. When we do the same probiotic over and over and over again, what we're doing is we're creating a monoculture in our gut.